We have another one here. Thank you very much for that answer, Maxime. Peter wanted to know, can you help us withdraw from socialist international organizations so we can decide on our own fate in our own Canadian soil without foreign meddling? Godspeed. And as an example, the reduction in nitrogen, 30% reduction. I contacted the government of Canada, scientists there. They couldn't explain why this magic number. So clearly, we are taking the orders from above and down. So what would you do when it comes to things like guidance or or global influence? Would you just follow it, or would you actually have Canada look into it?
We won't be part of that. We are the People's Party for the people, and we are fighting for the sovereignty of our country. So we will withdraw from, for example, the Paris Accord. So that being said, because we will withdraw from that accord, like President Trump did when he was president. He said, I'm not part of that anymore. So we have these regulations that are imposed on our farmers because we signed the Paris Accord. And Trudeau and Poilievre, they agree with that. Poilievre believed in the Paris Accord. Actually, he voted in 2017 for the Paris Accord. And at that time, I was a conservative member of parliament, and I was the only one who didn't vote for that motion. And Poilievre and all the conservatives voted for the Paris Accord. And Poilievre right now, today, said that he will fight climate change, but he won't impose any carbon tax. I respect that. But he will impose more regulations on farmers and businesses to be able to achieve the Paris Accord goals. And so that's why, we'll have more regulation. And at the same time, he will also take some of our money, our taxes, and give subsidies to the green industry. So we won't do that. We won't be part of the Paris Accord. And we are a sovereign country. We can do it, and we will. That's a big difference with us and the conservative and all these establishment political parties, because we believe that there's no climate emergency and the climate will always change. And that being said, on the environment, same thing also with the UN. Poilievre and Trudeau are okay with the migration compact. What is the migration compact? The UN said to every country, you must open your borders. Migration must be normal. A citizen of South Africa must be able to be a citizen of Canada. I'm saying no to that. To be a Canadian is a privilege, and we will withdraw from that treaty. But Poilievre and the Liberals will be part of that, and that's why we have mass immigration. Poilievre won't do anything about mass immigration. We will stop that. We'll have sustainable immigration. So I'm giving you example that we won't participate in the globalist agenda, and we are the only political party who will do that.
And on the emergency topic, Soros perfected the art of creating chaos. When government controls emergency protocols of pandemics, plandemics, fire, food, energy, economy, it's over. How can we stop the foreign interference of WEF China?
By electing the right politician. We have foreign interference right now because our politicians are in agreement with that socialist ideology, and they're globalists. So nobody will impose something on us. We are a sovereign country. The UN doesn't have an army. The World Economic Forum doesn't have an army. Trudeau and these establishment politicians are in line with that philosophy. And Trudeau is putting in place legislations that are, following the World Economic Forum philosophy. So we need to elect the right people. And the best example is Danielle Smith. When she was elected, when she was elected the leader of the party and prime minister, she said, I don't want my civil servant to deal anymore with the World Health Organization. And that was it. So we can do that, and we must regain our sovereignty by doing it. And we will. That's why the People's Party is the only party that is not globalist. We believe in our country and our sovereignty.
Yeah. So in terms of the way our country is run right now, like everybody's talking about Trudeau, but the way I see it, the way I think that it works is the most powerful person is the person that holds balance of power. So right now you have the NDP, they're holding the balance of power, and it's really their coalition that has stopped an election from being triggered. And with CSIS, they're saying that they have evidence that there's there's corruption in all parties going back to 3 or 4 decades. So what are your thoughts are on voter influence from foreign entities? Like, how can we stop that? Because I think that's a major threat to our and if Jagmeet Singh is really interested in getting to the bottom of this, then how come he hasn't triggered a non-confidence vote and forced an election and let the people really tell the government what they want, instead of doing all of these pointless inquiries, and where ultimately at the end of the day, they just come back and say, we investigated ourselves, nothing was wrong, but we're going to create another committee to make and give ourselves more power to make sure it never happens again. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I think that's really frustrating to me, that they never let the people talk. They always investigate themselves, and it always comes up with the same answer.
Yeah, but you must ask Jagmeet Singh why he's supporting Trudeau on that. He will have to answer that. But what we can do, I believe that we can look at the legislation that Australia put in place a couple of years ago to fight that. I believe that we must use all that information and legislation and implement that in our parliamentary system here in Canada. That would be a good start. But the Chinese influence in Canada, it's not only about the election. It's everywhere in universities. I'll give you an example. In Alberta, in one university, I won't name, they had a board meeting and they had a discussion about, doing a research on the entrance of China in Canada in our institution. And they had a debate about that at their board meeting. But the dean of the university said, no, we won't do that. And the reason why, because they received funding from the Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party. So that must stop. Yes, there's a lot of things that we can do to be sure that the Chinese Communist Party won't have an influence. You have also Chinese police station in Montreal and Vancouver. That's illegal, that's unconstitutional, and that's against the International Convention. We must dismantle that. So there's a lot that we can do. And we will look at what Australia did, and I believe that would be successful.